Welcome to the Saturday edition of the Goalpost. I'm your host, Oluwamayowa. I'm not alone. I have Gideon making his debut on the show. Gideon, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing good, sir.
Yeah, a whole lot of because this is your first time on the show, a whole lot of things has been going on, especially when it comes to um, the WAFCON. Nigeria is on a mission to win another trophy. I mean, if you see our jersey at the moment, we have the new jersey. They have the eagle in the middle, and they have the 10 stars surrounding it, indicating the 10 titles we have won as a national team. However, if you look at the tournament so far, um, it has been less than impressive event in terms of number of games we've played. We've considered 4 goals, and we've ended up scoring 9 goals. A lot of people might say, that's a good record to work with. However, um, and I want to get your opinion on this. If you look at how our team has played in the last 3 games, do you think the performance has been very satisfactory in terms of do they have it in them to go all out to win this particular tournament, making it title 11?
Let me start from the very first game. I will say for a start, they had a very, very shaky start. The game against Malawi, they lost that game, which everybody expected them to win. That was one thing they should have won very, very easily, given what they stand for, the kind of football they play, and then the opponents compared to Egypt and Zambia. Because Zambia is still one of the nations from Africa, but Nigeria losing to Malawi was a very, very big slap. But thank God in the second game and the third game they proved themselves. They won the games with good margin in the last one against Egypt. So I think going forward from the game against tomorrow, starting with Cameroon, I think if we can come up with a very, very good performance because Cameroon is not a team to underestimate. So they are not as good as the Super Falcons, but on the other hand, so if you see the way they play, they are very, very physical and they trend more when they are on counter attacks. And counter attacks are very, very dangerous. So I think that's one thing we should look out for going into the game tomorrow.
Okay, that's very fantastic. I mean, you mentioned the game for tomorrow. For most of that particular game, we had the red card and we're able to overcome. However, we are playing against the Cameroonian side, the very physical Cameroonian side. What are your expectations for that particular game, owing to the fact that Nigeria has not been that impressive in the last 3 games?
Okay, let's still stay on the last 3 games. Going into the game tomorrow, Cameroon has had the best of performance among the two teams. They have points of performance among the two teams. They have side lost one game to Malawi and they won their last 2 games. So going into the game tomorrow, Nigeria still looks like the favorite.
Sorry, Gideon. Sorry, Gideon. Desmond, your audio is still having an issue. He's speaking back. Maybe you might need to log out, connect your earpiece before you join in again, please.
Okay. Okay, so my take on this match is like
No. Gideon, can you hear me?
Cameroon
Sorry, Desmond, can you hear me?
rivalry as you do.
Desmond, please log out, connect your earpiece, and log back in. The audio is. I'm getting a feedback from your audio.
Okay.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So I said going into the game tomorrow, regardless of how the last 3 games have been for both teams, Cameroon look like the favourites as per the last 3 games. But in general, in speaking generally, the Super Falcons looks like the favourites. And I mean, due to what they've achieved in the past, due to the squad depth, due to how they play, and the kind of expectation. I think the Super Falcons still have an edge over the Cameroonian side. But then again, you will not take away the fact that this Cameroonian side, they are very, very physical. They have this strong defensive network, and they train home on counter attack. So it's something the Nigerian side will be prepared for going to that game tomorrow. But all in all, if they put themselves together, learn from their mistakes because they lost to Cameroon this year. I think sometime in March they lost 2-1 to Cameroon, if I'm being correct. So I think they should learn from that mistake. Though after that particular match, they played another game with Cameroon, which they won. But that one is now in the past. They should focus on the game tomorrow, looking at what their opponents have been doing. I mean, their last 2 games. So it's not something to take for granted. And they should also know that the game tomorrow will be is like a final before the final. Whoever wins that game tomorrow is the one that is going to automatically qualify for the World Cup that will be in Brazil come 2027. And then the other person will go play the playoff. So I think if they win tomorrow, that's an automatic qualification for the Super Falcons. Then from there we will see what happens. If maybe they'll be facing South Africa or if they'll be facing Morocco in the semi-final.
Okay, that's fantastic. I mean, okay, let's still sticking to the game coming up tomorrow before we talk about the South Africa Morocco game because that game is very, very important too. Whatever happens with Nigeria, a lot of people have said Nigeria should be able to dispatch Cameroon. However, if you look at our formation so far, the first game we went with a 4-3-3 and we struggled in that particular game. We couldn't control the pace of the game, and the midfield was so porous. Against the Zambia side, because of Baba Banda and the rest of them, Madugu decided to play a double pivot, and we got a red card in that particular game, and we were able to overcome, and we were able to win. In the last game against Egypt, it was more of the same thing. We played with one DM, and Egypt was able to control the pace of that game. If not for the indiscipline of the Egyptians that they considered 3 penalties, probably maybe the game would have been much more close. Against a Cameroonian side that's much more physical, what kind of formation are you expecting? Do you think we should go with a double pivot just like we did against Zambia, or we should stick to the 4-4-3? Because I mean, if you look at the first and the last game, we couldn't control the midfield as we usually do.
Okay, given the fact that in the game against Malawi and the one against Egypt, the same formation which the coach used never worked for them. And going to the game tomorrow, physicality is something that you can easily control if you can get the midfield. Because to me, I see football as a kind of game where if you can control the tempo of the game, it starts from basically the midfield. If you can get the midfield from your opponent, you have this higher chance of winning that game. Because if you can get the midfield, you'll be the one holding the ball the most. So in the game against Zambia, they kind of held the ball the most, but they got a red card fair, and they managed to win the game still fair. So if he can stick to the double pivot he used against Zambia, not just using that double pivot, he has to play a kind of game where the Super Falcons will be the one dictating the game for the Cameroonian side. Because when you dictate the game for your opponents, they tend to make mistakes. Let them play to your people. But if you are playing a kind of game where you are just playing, you just want to go and score, no tactics, no plan, no anything, I mean, it may come out to your people, it may come out the other way around. So, like if you see the way Manchester City play, you might be leading Manchester City 3-0, but if Pep Guardiola will still get that message from him, except you are a kind of coach that plays a similar game as he does. So, my advice to the coach and my personal opinion as per the formation is that he should stick to that double pivot. because if you stick to double pivot, then you leave one person to play the free role. You have an advantage of holding the ball more. You have that midfield strength, and there will be positional discipline in the team. The double pivot, one person, the two of them might not necessarily be standing. One person will be standing. One person must stand. One person will stand and keep moving like a box to box. One person will move. But when they are off the ball, two people must be standing. It is the most must be standing. But on the ball, you know that two people are there. Then you have one person for the flair, and I think that will help going to the game tomorrow.
Okay, and that's fantastic. A lot of people would argue that if you play double pivot, you are sacrificing creativity, and one holding midfielder, and the rest, the two playing in front of our holding midfielder was very very effective, and they were able to get a whole lot of things done. But especially in this particular tournament, it seems that has not been working out, and that is the reason why we have to pivot to double pivot because the pairing in the center of the defense has not been that fantastic. So probably, I mean, this is the opinion of people. Don't you think, in as much as don't pivot work against the Brabanda of Zambia, I don't think Madugu will be sacrificing creativity to play double pivot and have just one free roving midfielder in front of them. Don't you think that sacrifices creativity, and we need more creativity to be able to get in the goals?
I'll say it because everything, my opinion is my opinion. What the coach wants to play tomorrow is see what will play, regardless of what anybody wants to say. So the last AFCON and this particular AFCON, they are two different tournaments entirely. That's one fact to note. Then the opening the played in the last AFCON, even if they have played some of them now, they are two different things entirely. Some have changed coach, some they have changed tactics. So let us forget about the last AFCON. Let's stay with this one. Let's stay with this particular philosophy. Let's stay with what the Nigerian side have been playing so far. Let's stay with what their opponents have been playing so far. Let's just stay with this particular fact and then look for a solution on how to tackle this particular one that is looking at us in the face. So, sacrificing sacrificing one of the midfielders for creativity is something that will work effectively if the person that is playing that free role is very very effective.
Hmm.
So it all works very well when the 10, the free role is very very effective. You can play two attacking midfielders
Mm-hmm.
in the same team, one holding midfielder, and still that team will not function well.
Hmm.
That's one to take a look. Yes, but if you have a creative midfielder, providing your style of play, you favor this person, favor it in the sense that style of play will lead to a point where your midfielders, your fullbacks could feed this player for him to feed the wingers and the strikers because the ten looks like that chain in the midfield. That's the chain. Is the one connecting the midfield and the attack. So if they can feed, if you have an effective ten and your style of play, you favor with they will be feeding this person well, and this person knows how to use the ball well. He's good on the ball. The person is good off the ball because football is something that when you are good on the ball and you are good off the ball is one thing people don't know. If you are good on the ball and off the ball, you are not with the ball, but you know how to position yourself. You have this positional discipline on the pitch. We are like there's this awareness scanning all around to know when to take back. I mean, you do well. So either it's using a double pivot or it's using just one holding midfielder, few balls out to that, will you be able to control that game from the midfield? Because your midfield is where the game lies. If the Cameroonian side get the midfield from you tomorrow, it will be a very, very, very big blow to your face. Because me, I will not sit and watch a game where Cameroon will be knocking Nigeria in the midfield. Because if they get that midfield from you, I mean, These are, they could win the game. And they winning the game means you go for the World Cup playoff instead of securing your automatic ticket to the World Cup.
Well,
So
that,
that's
that,
the
that,
thing.
that's very true. Before I go, before we go on this topic, what do you think the scoreline will be? Nigeria, Cameroon. What will be the scoreline, Gideon?
Okay, in this tournament, I'm still staying on this tournament philosophy. Come this Cameroonian side, they don't concede much. In their last three games, I think they conceded just 3 goals or so,
Yeah, 3 goals. Yeah,
and are very good defensively. Very, very good defensively. Their defensive line is very, very strong. So Nigeria has wingers that could frustrate that defense. Fine. Then again, they are very, very good on counter attack. Very, very good on counter attack. They know how to get the ball and progress very, very quickly. So for the score line, saying they don't concede much, I don't know how it's going to be tomorrow. I will just let me say 3-1. 3-1 to the Super Falcons.
3-1 to Super Falcons. Okay, that's fantastic. This one coming back to you. I mean, if you look at that particular matchup, South Africa is facing up against a Moroccan side. Morocco, barring the game they had against Senegal, I mean, the 19-year-old of Senegal was very, very fantastic in that particular game. She pulled up a whole lot of save in that particular game to ensure that Morocco did not win. Yes, the penalty mirrored the one of Brian Diaz and the rest of that. There was a bit of controversy in terms of the referee insisting that Shabak did not did not come for the play. But that aside, Morocco has 7 points. Um, South Africa, they barely qualified. It took a very late goal for them to get themselves back in the competition. And, they've been struggling. The coach had to change the goalkeeper. Lamini was dropped for the second game, and Caitlin Swart came in. What are you expecting that particular game? To the fact that Morocco has been top notch, buying the game against Senegal, and South Africa has not been that fantastic. What do you make of that particular game?
Okay, my expectation tomorrow is fair on the two sides. Now, I'll speak on certain things. First of all, Morocco, the Atlas Lioness are the host of this particular competition, and they've hosted this particular tournament for 3 times in a row. Going into that game tomorrow, they
Today,
have
they
the
play
home
today.
advantage. Today, sorry, they have the home advantage compared to the South African side. Then the WAFCON tournament that held in 2022, the South African side won the Moroccan side by 2 goals to 1. So I think this is the kind of benchmark for the Moroccan side if they're able to come up with something good for them. For the other hand, too, they've met twice, and the Moroccan side have not won them once. The, the South African side won those 2 games very, very easily. Then, looking at how they play, the South African side has been one of the African sensations, from the women aspect. So, the game tomorrow is not just who win, is the bench of the 2022 WAFCON tournament. Whoever wins tomorrow gets a ticket, an automatic ticket for the World Cup that comes up next year. So I think the two of them will battle. But looking at their recent form, Morocco looks like the better side. Fair. But looking at both of them, they are head to head. South Africa is the best side. So I don't know what to predict for either Morocco win or South Africa win is not really my problem. My problem is about the Super Falcons, like I said before. So either of them that wins that game today, I know they'll face anybody that wins between Nigeria or Cameroon, but I know the Nigerians have progress to the next stage. So whoever wins, good for them. So I don't have to say about that.